All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. Today we're going to meticulously unpack the factual, chronological events of one of the absolute most devastating mornings in human history. We're zeroing in strictly on the physical timeline and the immediate, staggering reality of what happened on August 6, 1945, in Hiroshima, Japan.
You know, to really grasp the dawn of the atomic age, we kind of need to set global politics aside for a second. We really need to focus purely on the physics, the shattered infrastructure, and the raw human reality of what actually transpired. We're going to walk through exactly what happened on the ground when Hiroshima was struck, down to the exact second and temperature. Section 1. The morning of the strike.
So picture this. We begin in a city of roughly 350,000 people. You've got a mix of civilians, soldiers, and mobilized students out creating fire breaks. It started off as just a typical clear summer morning. At 7:10 a.m., an air raid siren went off when a weather plane passed overhead, but the all-clear was given shortly after. Well, by the time spotters detected 3 approaching bombers just after 8 o'clock, they actually didn't sound the alarm again. This fatal instance of precaution fatigue meant the city was completely unalarmed when the uranium bomb was released at exactly 8:15 a.m.
Released from the B-29 bomber Enola Gay, the uranium bomb known as Little Boy contained about 64 kilograms of uranium-235. Dropping from an altitude of roughly 9,400 meters, it took exactly 44.4 seconds to fall toward the city below, and for those 44.4 seconds, life in Hiroshima just continued as normal.
Section 2. 8:15 a.m. The detonation. Now, here is something wild. From a strict physics standpoint, this weapon was actually considered highly inefficient. Only about 1.7% of its material actually fissioned. But that tiny percentage unleashed absolute hell on Earth. Because of a crosswind, the bomb missed its intended target, the T-shaped Aoi Bridge, by about 240 meters. Instead, it detonated mid-air, 600 meters directly above the Shima Surgical Clinic. The explosion started with a blinding flash, literally 10 times brighter than the sun. In the fraction of a second following that flash, intense heat rays radiated outward. The ground temperature at the hypocenter instantly spiked to an unimaginable 3,000 to 4,000 degrees Celsius. To put that into perspective for you, human bodies out in the open air within a kilometer of ground zero were instantly carbonized into what survivors could only describe as a white powder. Right on the heels of those heat rays came the physical shockwave. A massive blast wind moving at a maximum speed of 440 meters per second radially swept across the entire city in just 10 seconds. People caught on the open roads within a kilometer were instantaneously squeezed by this staggering pressure against walls, causing multiple skeleton fractures and completely rupturing internal organs. Section 3. The immediate aftermath. The bomb released energy equivalent to 16 kilotons of TNT. Under that kind of force, the city's infrastructure simply ceased to exist. Out of the 76,317 buildings in Hiroshima prior to the attack, a staggering 92% were completely obliterated, burned to the ground, or left entirely unusable. Because the city was largely made up of traditional wooden structures, the blast radius of 1.6 kilometers left practically nothing standing. And honestly, the destruction didn't stop with the shockwave. The intense thermal radiation had ignited spontaneous fires all across the debris. Just 30 minutes after detonation, those individual fires merged, engulfing the city in a massive firestorm that ultimately scorched 13 square kilometers of land. Many people who actually survived that initial blast found themselves trapped beneath collapsed wooden structures as this terrifying firestorm just rolled in. Section 4. Surviving the unimaginable. For the people on the ground, this was a completely unprecedented type of terror. They had no idea what had just happened. They only knew the sky had unleashed total devastation. Roughly half an hour after the bomb fell, soot, dust, and radioactive fallout combined in the atmosphere and fell back to Earth as this toxic black rain. Survivors, like Mr. Morikawa, recalled this thick, sticky rain soaking them to the bone, contaminating the water supply, and causing severe internal radiation exposure that would plague the survivors, known as hibakusha, for decades. The thermal radiation from that initial flash was so incredibly intense and instantaneous that it permanently seared the dark patterns of clothing directly into the flesh of victims. You can see how the dark fabric absorbed the immense heat, burning the shapes right into her back, while the lighter fabric reflected it just enough to spare the skin underneath. It's a really stark visual of the bomb's immediate physics.
In the wake of all this, the city's medical infrastructure was entirely paralyzed. Every single non-concrete hospital and clinic was destroyed. Out of 298 physicians in the whole city, an astonishing 270 were exposed or killed, right alongside the vast majority of nurses. With medical supplies completely incinerated, desperate survivors had to just improvise treatments for horrifying burns. Some families were called slicing up raw potatoes to place over open wounds just to offer some tiny bit of relief. Think about that for a second. Raw potatoes. The human toll here is almost incomprehensible. While 60,000 to 80,000 people are estimated to have perished instantly in the blast and those immediate fires, the combination of horrific burns, an absolute lack of medical care, and acute radiation sickness, where victims with zero visible injuries would suddenly fall ill and pass away within days, drove the death toll to roughly 140,000 by the end of the year.
Section 5. First Steps to Recovery.
Despite the near-total collapse of civil society, the absolute earliest, most desperate attempts at recovery started almost immediately, right there in the ashes. Now, public transportation was obviously halted in an instant. Out of the city's 123 streetcars, 108 were completely destroyed or incinerated, leaving only metal skeletons on the tracks. Yet miraculously, and this is where human resilience just blows you away, because the Dambara electrical substation was slightly shielded by a hill, power was partially restored to parts of the city within a single day. By August 8th, power reached the main station. And by August 9th, literally just 3 days after the bombing, a single streetcar, patched together by surviving transit workers and military personnel, resumed operation on a single track. They offered free rides to anyone who needed one. For a city wandering through a literal wasteland, seeing a moving streetcar became an incredibly vital symbol of hope.
As we close out this explainer, I want to leave you to ponder this exact question. The sheer physical reality of what happened in Hiroshima on August 6 really defies easy comprehension. A massive city was effectively erased from the map in a matter of seconds. Yet, out of the 4,000-degree heat and the black rain, the unbelievable human resilience required to simply take the next step, to lay a new streetcar track, to bandage a neighbor, is just a profound testament to the survivors. So, what's the big takeaway here? It's a stark, unwavering understanding of the true anatomy of a nuclear disaster and a deeply necessary reflection on the true cost of its deployment.